What's up there, YouTube? It's Gores here, giving you guys a deck profile for my Prank Kids Nemesis deck. This deck is so much fun to play, y'all. It carried me through gold, put me in platinum, and I've just been smacking people around with it. Pretty slept on deck, probably my favorite deck to play in Season 2. So without further ado, let's just get into the deck profile. So starting off, we play the best hand traps in the game, Ash Blossom Max C, not much to say there. Next up, we play the Prank Kids, 3 copies of Prank Kids Fansies. So all the Prank Kids let you summon a different Prank Kid from deck by activating and resolving an effect. So Fansies lets you send any Prank Kids card from your deck to the graveyard to summon a Prank Kids with a different name. Dropsies gives you 1,000 life points and summons a Prank Kid with a different name. Lampsies burns your opponent for 500 and summons a Prank Kid with a different name. And Roxy's, which is actually really strong in this build, possibly the stronger of the Prank Kids in this build, just because we're playing the Nemesis. So Prank Kids Roxy's, if it's sent to the graveyard as a material for the Fusion Summon or Link Summon, you get to banish a card from your hand. Now, as long as you have a monster to banish with it, it's going to make your Nemesis corridor live. So the Roxy's is going to let you draw a card and then summon a Prank Kids with a different name from deck. So the normal line of Prank Kids is usually to end on your Battle Butler, but thanks to the addition of Nemesis Corridor in this deck, because we have 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Colossus, what Corridor does is it lets you target one of your banished monsters, which we've hopefully been able to banish with our Prank Kids Roxy's, shuffle it into the deck, and then special summon the Corridor. So what the Corridor can really do for us is it is a Thunder monster, and its effect activates in hand, which means we contribute it to special summon our Thunder Dragon Colossus, which for us is going to be crazy because we're going to be able to end on a Battle Butler and the Thunder Dragon Colossus, and as the deck profile goes on, I'll get into why that's so insane. Next up, we have 2 copies of Polymerization. Polymerization is just really good in this deck because instead of us having to search for Pandemonium, we can choose to search for Prank Kids Place or Prank Kids Pranks and be able to special summon more than just Prank Kids monsters if we need to. Next up, we have 1 copy of Instant Fusion. Instant Fusion is insane in this deck, allowing us to summon our Rocket Ride and then tribute the Rocket Ride to summon back Prank Kids, which is going to let us keep comboing further. Next, we play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. This deck plays nothing but multiples. The only one-ofs we play in the deck are easily replaceable with other cards that we can summon. So next up, we are playing 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. Thunder Dragon Fusion allows this deck to go ham because we can fusion summon our Battle Butler with it. And because we can fusion summon the Battle Butler, we get to return our Prank Kid engine back into our deck. So if we've banished any with our desires, or if we're in the late game and we resolve it, we get to put our Prank Kids back. And then on top of that, it can also banish itself except the turn it was sent to the graveyard to add any Thunder Dragon monster from our deck to our hand. So one thing that's pretty cool about that is we get to search for our Corridor and our Fansies. Now, it can't be the turn that it was sent to the graveyard, as I said, but being able to search for that any Thunder monster is pretty strong. Next up, we have 2 copies of Prank Kids Place. Prank Kids Place isn't really necessary as a 3 of in this deck, considering we only need the 1 Prank Kids monster to go off in this deck, but being able to search your Prank Kids is nonetheless amazing. It lets us add a Prank Kids from our deck to hand, and then if we fusion summon a Prank Kids monster, we can have all of our monsters gain 500, and then if we link summon a Prank Kids monster, we can have our opponent's monsters lose 500. So a pretty strong card there. Next up, we have 2 copies of Prank Kids Pranks. Prank Kids Pranks is going to let us summon any Prank Kids token by discarding a Prank Kids card, and then also that token can't be tributed, but during our end phase, we get to target any 3 Prank Kids monsters we want, shuffle them into the deck, and draw a card, also allowing us to recycle our engine. Next up, we have 2 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is just a really strong card. It lets us interrupt so much. I did think about opting for Crossout Designator as well as the Called by the Grave just to increase the amount of interruption we have in the deck, but I haven't really been missing it. Next up, we have 3 copies of Prank Kids Pandemonium. This is a quick play fusion spell in this deck, which allows us to make Battle Butler on our opponent's turn, which is just so powerful. In addition to that, you can search it with our Dodo Doodle Doo, so you definitely need to be playing 3. You can't play less than that because we're playing the Pot of Desires. Next up, we have 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence just helps our going second matchup by being able to negate problem cards like Alistair or just anything that is going to pop off. We can negate the Rescue Cat and essentially ending the Zodiac Tri-Brigade player's turn. So a pretty solid card for us. And then we have the 1 copy of Vanity's Emptiness. Vanity's Emptiness is just the best floodgate in the game, and if we end our turn on Battle Butler, Colossus, and flip Vanity's Emptiness, 9 times out of 10 we get the surrender. Next up, we have 1 copy of Prank Kid's Rocket Ride. Rocket Ride, when it's fusion summoned, you can have it lose 1,000, then it can attack directly this turn. We're not really going to summon this card a whole lot. We have stolen a couple of cheesy wins with it, but it's mostly in here so we can instant fusion, summon it, and then we can tribute it to special summon 2 non-fusion Prank Kids monsters with different names. Next up, we have the Thunder Dragon Colossus. Thunder Dragon Colossus is the main reason we are running the Nemesis engine. The Thunder Dragon Colossus has to be special summoned during the turn a Thunder monster's effect was activated in the hand, so our Nemesis Corridor, and then we tribute the Corridor to summon it, and then while it's on the field, cards cannot be added from the main deck to your opponent's hand except by drawing them. So you're just turning off all those decks that could just add from deck to hand just because we had Corridor and we resolved Roxy's effect. And then if it were to be destroyed by battle or card effect, we can just banish a Thunder monster instead, so it gives the deck a little bit more sustainability from board wipes. Next up, we have the Prank Kids Battle Butler. Battle Butler lets us tribute itself to destroy all your opponent's monsters, and then if it's just sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, while it's in your possession, you get to target a non-fusion monster in your graveyard and special summon it, which sometimes being able to summon back our Dodo Doodle Doo is really important. We're playing 2 copies of it because we are playing the Pandemonium and the Thunder Dragon Fusion, so it definitely comes in handy playing multiples. Next up, we're playing 1 copy of Totally Awesome. If we open with Polymerization, you can end with this board. You can end with Battle Butler, Colossus, and Totally Awesome. Like, what's your opponent going to do at that point? They can't add from deck to hand. You get a Raigeki, a twice per turn Raigeki on your opponent's turn, and you have an Omni Negate. What's more not to love? It's insane in this deck. Next up, we have the best Link 1 in this deck, which is Prank Kids Meow Meow Moo. So Prank Kids Meow Meow Moo has the effect of, while it's in the graveyard, if your Prank Kids monster would tribute itself to activate its effect on your opponent's turn, you can just banish it instead. So the Battle Butler tributing itself isn't a hard once per turn, so you get to actually try to tribute itself to destroy your opponent's board, banish the Meow Meow Moo instead, pop your opponent's board, then when they try to make their board again, you just tribute the Battle Butler and blow it up again. Next up, we have 2 copies of Prank Kids Dodo Doodle Doo. I don't ever really miss having the 3rd one, since we can add it back with our Prank Kids pranks, and other than that though, it is the best Link 2 for the deck. When it's Link summoned, you get to add a Prank Kid spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and you can also tribute itself to target 2 Prank Kid cards with different names in your graveyard, except for Link monsters, and add them to your hand. So it lets you add back your Prank Kids Pandemonium, your Place, your Prank Kids Pranks, any 2 Prank Kids, usually Lampsies, Dropsies, or Fansies, so that you can fusion summon into Battle Butler. Next up, we have 2 copies of Prank Kids Bow Wow Bark. He's going to boost your Prank Kids up by 1,000. I was running Nightmare Unicorn, but Unicorn just wasn't coming up enough for the deck. And yeah, we are missing the Link 3 for the access code talker, but we almost never make access code either. If the game has gone that far, we probably lost anyway. It doesn't really come up a lot, so I ended up opting for 2 Bow Wow Bark because Bow Wow Bark has just been so good in this deck, especially at 2. Our opponent will interrupt it often, and Called by the Grave is at 2, so sometimes we just need that extra Bow Wow Bark to push through our opponent's board. In addition to that, the attack points will stack, so sometimes we make a Bow Wow Bark, make another Bow Wow Bark underneath it, and then whatever whatever Prank Kids monster we're pointing to is going to gain 1,000 attack again. So you're just boosting up all your Prank Kids, and it's just been really fun. You can opt to play the Nightmare Unicorn if you want. Recently, though, from Plat 3 to Plat 2, trying to get that Plat 1 with the deck, haven't needed Unicorn, almost never comes up. Next, we have one copy of Verte Anaconda. This is so that when we're top decking and we need to get to our Battle Butler, we can just summon a Prank Kids, link into Meow Moo, get a summon from the Prank Kid monster that we linked off, link into Verte, pay 2,000, and send that Thunder Dragon Fusion, put everything back, and make the Battle Butler. In addition to that, we even get even more follow-up the following turn by banishing the Thunder Dragon Fusion and adding Nemesis Corridor from deck to hand. Next up, the link 4 that we make more than access code talker in this deck, Rip Roarin' Roaster. So Rip Roarin' is really strong. When it's quick effect, you can tribute it and destroy all spells and traps your opponent controls. There is a line of play where you end on the Rip Roarin' and you end on the Battle Butler, and you can just wipe your opponent's board. So super solid card, especially in the Eldritch matchup. If we're going first, they set 4, or they choose not to set 4 because they don't want to lose to their back row being blown up. And then if it's sent to your graveyard by an opponent's card, you get to target any card in your graveyard and add it back to the hand. That almost never comes up, though. And then finally, we have the one copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is just, it's the best link 4 in the game. What are you going to do? It's amazing. Like I said, you don't often need the Nightmare Unicorn. It does come up, but I have yet to need this card like get to 5,300, because if it's at 43, I'm probably still OTKing my opponent. So other than that, though, that's probably the only controversial thing you guys are going to see in the extra deck is me not playing the one Unicorn. You can run it. I was running it. I enjoyed it. But I opted for a second copy of Bow Wow Bark for the deck profile. But yeah, other than that, guys, I will have a combo video coming up for how to play the deck. I've really enjoyed the deck. I hope you guys try it out. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And this is Gores signing off.